Okay.
Intro turn off.
Good afternoon, everybody. Gary Gabagool, my boy Sal, coming in on the Red Podcast number 43 with a crazy week. But Sal was very into the Elon Musk rocket ship.
Yeah, the SpaceX launch.
So
that was awesome.
This song serves a dual purpose. One, a tribute to Elon Musk and his incredible intelligence and
what an astonishing feat.
Astonishing and innovative.
Like, that was double the payloads now of anything previously before. Like 5 million pounds of thrust of power to get out there, 27 engines. I remember I was watching it, there was 5 million other people watching live on the internet. It was crazy.
Well, it just amazes me that there are human beings that are this intelligent. Usually when you have NASA doing this, you have a team of people, and I would imagine he has a team also.
Yeah.
But it's just imagine that you have a man who's that friggin' intelligent. It's mind-boggling, and so
how he has one of his Teslas in orbit,
right? And then secondarily, just briefly to mention, because it will be fitting to say so, is that Elton John EJ just announced that his final tour ever to the Yellow Brick Road will be his final tour. So it was a fitting song, but I'm going to let Sal go into whatever he wants to go into, because just to give you a preface, this is a crazy week. This has been one of the most mixed bag weeks. Every day another bombshell is dropped. It feels like when Sal and I were doing the podcast in the summer with Julian Assange and Wiki coming out, he would come out with one big news story every 3 months, like an email drop. This is becoming a daily drop of just insanity. So I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to let Sal go, and then we're going to get into it.
Well, just to finish off with the SpaceX stuff, it's astonishing, because we're really going to be going to Mars and back to the moon and all that stuff. And to boot, those rockets are all reusable.
I can't even fathom how that is.
Like, and when you watch them re-land themselves, it's like straight out of science fiction movies. It's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, as an old guy, like for you, but as people in our 50s who are used to watching Cape Canaveral and either a rocket going up and blowing up in pieces, that has happened with, Sally Ride, that one, the Challenger, a couple times. Or when they do come into orbit, they're successful, they come out smashing into the water and crash.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore. It's just unfathomable.
Now you just land like an airplane, nice and soft.
It doesn't even make sense to me. It's so hard to grasp.
From space.
It's
so cool.
And it's funny, because Sal and I were talking about this, because he'll probably explain to you how he was into how the Earth looked and stuff. The only thing I could think of is, and I don't remember his name, but he was a German guy. But I was telling Sal that he was the guy who was sponsored by Red Bull, and he went up in I guess you would call it like a spaceship, basically. And the guy jumped out of the plane. The maniac jumped, and he was out of the atmosphere. And I'm thinking to myself, when he had the GoPro camera on his helmet, and it looked exactly like Sal said, because he was jumping like at twilight, it looked like, and you could see the Earth, how cool it looked. And the guy's standing out on a ledge that's like 3 feet, and he's like looking around, and I'm shitting a brick watching this guy on TV, and then the guy just leaps and he falls to Earth.
So cool. I mean, it's a lot duller of a blue than they make it seem like crazy in the movies and stuff, but it's so cool looking. It's so big. And, I'm so into that outer space shit. I love it. But yeah, I'm with that, and then I'm stoked about the Olympics on Friday. I love the Winter Olympics. I just love all the competition. Yeah. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I guess we should start with the biggest news today, I guess, of Obama knowing all the Clinton investigation, all the Clinton investigation stuff. He knew about the texts, he knew about everything, he knew about all the private servers.
Well, first, before we get into this, Sal and I talked about this almost daily on our podcast. Yeah. But the most, I guess, the exact word, satisfying feeling is to know that we were right, and that when people did say we were assholes, people who said we were liars.
Today, what proof do you got?
Exactly.
It's like we said, what proof do you have about Russia? But they would still talk about their nonsense.
And it just by the time Sal was syncing up the phone to videotape this, thank you to Carla Caniglio. She sent me a link that came from this guy. He's out of Arizona. He's a Republican named Paul Gosar. He's the head of the House. I don't want to mess up what he does. He's the House Oversight Committee chief. He just came out and said in the newest memo they received today that Sal, to build on what he said not only was he aware of all of Hillary's emails and all of her deletions and everything going on with the FISA memo and everything going on with all that stuff, the warrant, that he also was intrinsically involved in burying the Fast and Furious, the IRS with Lois Lerner and her target of conservative groups, and Benghazi. And so they basically said not only did he know about it, he willfully had the DOJ, State Department, FBI conduct faulty and corrupt investigations, so they had no ties to any of these things and were let loose. And if you remember, Fast and Furious was Eric Holder, and we had that guard, that Border Patrol man killed with our own guns. Benghazi, we all know what happened with that. We had all those Americans die, those heroes. And then Lois Lerner, that was where she went on in front of the Senate House Committee and pleaded the fifth and would not answer any questions. She just sat there like a bump on a log, and she got away with it. Right today, she's retired, but she still has her pension, and Obama knew about all of that. And this is complete craziness.
So he knew about all of it and didn't say nothing. Why? Oh, because it would hurt him, maybe. Yeah. God, man. Be a little self-sacrificial, man. Like, own up. If he would have been transparent about this and try to like out it then, no one would think of him as such a scumbag that he is now.
Nope.
Well, but now he's complicit in all this shit.
And like again, Sal's setting up the phone today, literally 5 seconds before we're ready to start broadcasting, and my wife shows a quote that in April of 2016 that Obama went out of his way to say that in none of these investigations were the DOJ or FBI or State Department compromised. And what do we always say? Sal and I have been saying this from the first podcast, the boomerang deflection, all this stuff, transference, everything they do, they come out and say either the other guy does, or they come out and they puff out their chest and give a really strong statement to make everyone think that they're not doing it. And whenever someone does that to me and they're proactive about it, it means they did it. That's the way I take it. We've been right 100% of the time.
I know. I'm gonna get a little petty with it now. When I'm thinking back to when Obama got elected, and we all knew his name, Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah.
What does his name rhyme with? Osama.
Correct.
Obama, Osama.
Correct.
Like we would we would never elect someone named Kittler. We would never elect someone named
Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, we would never elect someone named Malin.
Yeah.
Like, just why did this happen? Why didn't people, if they would have just stuck with that petty shit back then, people would be like, oh well, yeah, his name rhymes with a terrorist. He's a terrorist.
Can I tell you something funny? I did used to do that back in the day when Facebook first came out, and of course we didn't realize politics wasn't such an intrinsic part of Facebook like it was today. But I remember back in the day, to Sal's point, that I always used to say that you would not believe the hate I received. And I'm talking at the time, some friends who I'm no longer friends with today, who said I was racist, I was anti-Muslim. And I said, first off, if you naive fools think this guy's a Christian, it is the funniest fucking thing. And to tell me he's not, and all of a sudden, as soon as I said that, what happened? They came out with he's a Muslim. Then he came out with and I always say this, and I'm gonna be brief on this, but I have to mention it. When Reverend Wright came out with all those anti-American things, those curse words against America, when they asked Obama about it, he said something along the lines of, oh, I don't recall ever hearing him talk like this in a sermon, or I can't recall what he said. And I laughed my ass off because I remember being a kid, Father Lionelli, when I was 5 years old at St. Peter's Church in Belleville, I could tell you what he spoke about on a Sunday in March. And I was 5 years old, and this asshole was going for president, can't recall all of a sudden what Reverend Wright said 6 months ago. It's a joke. I'm like, this is such a fraud perpetrated on America, and 52% of idiots in America bought it twice.
Yeah, well, and a lot of those idiots, half of those idiots just want free stuff. So like the other half are just pointless morons.
Right. And another thing I want to point out, and the one time I will give Obama his credit is his honesty once in his life. The day before he was getting inaugurated, he came right out and said, by tomorrow, we will fundamentally transform this country, America, forever. And that was the only thing he ever said that he wasn't lying about. Because in the 8 years, that's exactly what he did. Now, he sucks and I hate him. He's a scumbag, but he said it. And fools still went with him twice.
Yeah, I still see it all the time. Like, it's just foolish shit. We're just I didn't even plan on talking about this, but like the climate change stuff. Like, it's so obvious that people, and every time I want to smack these people in the face, like, no shit. But we don't have to pay for it. We don't have to pay for it. We don't have to spend the money to let people tell us it's happening because we already know it's happening. That's what bothers me.
Well, listen, here's the climate change that's going to drive me crazy.
That's it, though. I didn't even plan.
But I'm just going to give a brief because this is everything liberals do has so many holes in their theories, like Swiss cheese. For example, they're going to say we have climate change and we got to pay for it, but then they don't put any sanctions on India, China. And I always say to that, wait a second, isn't India and China on the planet Earth? Aren't they under the same sky that we are, just over there? Yeah. And also, how come Obama basically traded carbon footprints with companies who are rich, with corporations that were poor? So I said, it doesn't matter. It's all a scam. And if you're going to tell me Al Gore is your champion, the guy is a lawyer. What the hell does he know about like meteorology or history of weather? It's ridiculous. And whenever he's questioned, he will never fess up. Just scurries like the fat little fucking turtle he is. And I always said, one day, you know what I want to hear? I want to hear him either be eaten by a polar bear, or I want an icicle to go right through his eye socket and kill him.
Poetic justice.
Poetic justice. Go ahead. I hate that. Climate change makes me nuts. I go crazy on it.
And going more with like the stuff people knew but didn't say nothing about. Did you see the story this week about the Pope in 2015 about the sexual assault going on? I think it was in some South American country. He was getting letters from such and such people,
like a poor country.
Yeah, all this stuff was going on. These fathers, whatever the hell they're called, they're doing all these horrible things.
Yeah,
and he did nothing.
Of course.
And then it came out this week that it got revealed that all this horrible things was going on, and it came out that he knew about it.
Of course he did.
So they're trying to brush it under the rug, but I saw it, I was like, holy shit.
Well, here's the thing. Why should it be any different than it was here in America and probably around the world, where it happened all the time? And what they did is it's been proven. They just shuffled all these priests or deacons all over the place, fathers, and the same thing. And this just goes to show you that a guy like our Pope, I despise him. I don't give a rat's ass that he's the highest supposed law, Catholic law of the land. He's a radical liberal who cares more about social issues and justice than he does about Christians or Catholics. He wants to be safe in his, at the Vatican with the huge 50-foot walls and a Swiss guard. And he comes out and says, I think if I'm not mistaken, and someone correct me, but I read a story where he said something that Catholics, believing in Jesus exclusively is terrible. You have to open your mind to other races like what's his name? Muhammad.
It's so sad.
And it's like, this guy's a royal sellout to the Catholic Church. I don't know how he even got in there.
Dude, so sad. Oh my god. Oh, and then it's funny too because I saw I'm getting through all my global shit before we get back here.
Yeah, that's good.
Israel's deporting all the Africans that migrated there, and people are upset in Israel, of course, that they're doing this.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, well, only a handful.
Do they have? That's interesting to me because I didn't know.
A handful of left-wing people.
Yeah. Do they have a lot of?
Well, this just recently happened.
Oh, you mean they just came in?
Yeah, and then they said, all right, you got 6 months.
Where are they coming from? Sudan?
All the places that are getting.
Like Congo and
Libya and all those
places
are just getting torn apart.
And so they just basically said,
they're telling them, get the hell out. You can either, file for this, become a citizen.
I don't have a problem with that.
Or they said, get out. Just get out. But people are upset.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay.
I mean, Israel's a really small place.
It is. It's not that
tiny.
And I have a bunch of other stuff, not political right now, but so you can get.
Well, I was going to get back because just to kind of build upon what Sal mentioned, so eloquently. I was going to get back to the FISA memo today, and we know about they had more emails from Strzok Page, this scumbag. And here's another thing that bothers me: how is this guy still employed? This guy is still at the FBI, and supposedly he's on administrative leave, but he's still being paid. He still has a pension. On September the 2nd, just to kind of reiterate what Sal said to give you a background, is he said that the president needs to know everything going on, and we need to brief Comey on it all, so he's in tune about Obama, who's supervising it. So And he called him the POTUS on the thing. He didn't say Obama. What does that matter? They call him POTUS.
Yeah, and that goes off of the Comey saying that he rarely spoke to Obama.
Correct. So that's a lie. Yeah. That's another lie. And then on January 10th of this year, this is just goes to show you, and if you remember this guy, like every FBI got up there, none of them looked like they worked the field. They all looked like they were little Weasley bastards. But this one guy had Comey is an arrogant dude. I think McCabe was more serious. Ray was more serious, but this little dweeb by the name of Rod Rosenstein, he just had this look on his face that you want to smack the shit out of him. And we found out that on January 10th, he threatened Devin Nunes and said, if you release the FISA memo here at the FBI, we will make sure that we unmask you, all your emails, your text messages, which is basically he's telling he's going to commit a crime. Yeah. He's going to, it's amazing. These guys are supposed high-end lawmakers and make these mistakes, writing emails like this, threatening people. But these are guys who are like, that guy was the assistant district attorney of the FBI. He was the FBI director, top two, top three.
See, the corruption, it doesn't just go outwardly, it also goes inwardly.
Yeah.
It fucks up their minds. It really does. They think they can get away with anything.
Well, I think that's why they were so concerned on and so obsessed with President Trump, because they knew it's almost like it's almost like this. Like you're playing poker and you got a 4 aces. And the only hand that can beat you is a royal flush. And you have a guy in who's at the table who's a statistical genius. And he turns to you and says, the odds of that guy having a royal flush is probably about 10 million to 1. You have the best hand, put it all in. And the guy has the big stack. He goes all in. He's all arrogant. And this fucking guy throws out a royal flush. And that's what President Trump did, because that's why they're so obsessed with him, because they all thought, and think about this, people. We talk about it, and this is common sense and nothing you guys don't know. But if Trump loses this election, God forbid, and Hillary wins, we'd be sitting here on February the 6th or 7th, whatever, and I don't even know what we'd be talking about, because we wouldn't know about any of this. We'd be talking about some bullshit, about some stupid thing she said yesterday, because we would know nothing. So the fact of the matter that this guy, and we the people, voted this guy in. So whenever I hear a person, and I do hear this at times, that voting doesn't matter, is a bunch of bullshit. This is the preemptive vote that matters more than anything. We changed the history of our country. We changed the course of what could have happened. Because if it had gone the other way, we'd be screwed. Yeah. Bottom line, screwed.
I got people in cities, it seem like they're supposed to be smarter. But it's like it doesn't go, and it just doesn't work like that. Like you feel like all these stupid liberals all congregate in one area. Thank God they go to ruin their electoral numbers. But oh my God!
I mean, I know we talked about this, and I had an argument with a guy on Facebook once who I always saw, Jesse Waters, who I think is funny as shit. He was at a college at one of the protests, women's protests. We talked about this, but college kids are morons.
I'm glad you go ahead.
College kids are morons. You would not believe how dumb he made these kids look. And he asked them simple questions like, why are they there? Or, and the kids, and at the end, he had them all agreeing with them. And this is how stupid they are, because they're just there to skip a class and because I was told to go there. It was pathetic.
So this wasn't Fox News or anything like that. This was just, I forget what reporting platform this was on. But this guy went to John Jay College, and all the students were walking down in New York. And he starts ripping lines off of the State of the Union, but not Trump's State of the Union, Obama's State of the Union.
And they also, they hated it. But
this is sexist, racist, misogynist, immigrant. I hate this. I hate this hate speech. Blah, blah, blah. And they're going off. And then he's like, well, that actually wasn't Trump's speech. This was President Obama's speech. And they show it to them. And they did? That's great. All of them are just, they're all mortified.
And what did they say?
Nothing. They can't say nothing. Well, they literally can't say nothing. All they do is walk off.
Right. Well,
because they just got exposed for being little hacks that they are.
Well, that's the funniest thing. And that's, now, how can a person, like, I remember back in the day when we were kids, smart people went to college. And I don't mean that if you didn't go to college, you're not smart, but you had to be smart. And what I mean is you got to score. SAT scores are bullshit to me. But you had to be smart. You had to be a free thinker. You had to be able to think outside the box. Today, college kids are morons. You see it every day. Yeah, it's like they're flocks of geese. And wherever the professor tells them to fly, they fly and they sit in their little room. And what Sal just mentioned is a perfect example. You have a group of people that instead of thinking and listening to what the person said, they just assumed it was President Trump. And then when they're exposed, instead of saying, wow, I'm wrong here and I really have to, no, they run away and scurry like little cockroaches.
They just run real fast. It's like, wow, how sad is this? Wow.
I love the video. Like, that's a perfect
the video was great.
I always say I wish Trump did that during the State of the Union, put videos up, because to me, it's so effective. And they don't have to be long. They could be like 30, 40 seconds, just saying exactly what Obama or Clinton said about illegals, and it would have shut them all up. It would have been great.
This is something we talked about a long time ago. We floated the idea, but now it's actually coming to fruition, and of course, of all places, California. In this town of Stockton. Did you read this?
Stockton is where the Diaz's are from.
Yeah.
Nick and Nate Diaz.
Nate Diaz are favorite fighters.
UFC fighters.
Yeah, but they're going to start universal basic income in Stockton, California. If you're a resident of Stockton, California, you receive $500 a month. No questions. You just receive a check for $500 a month.
Well, how is that possible?
It's universal basic income. How is it possible? I have no idea.
How are they going to afford it?
I don't know. This isn't me, but this is what's happening.
So here's my thing. What happens now if LA says this, and then San Francisco says it, and you're going to give people, you're bankrupt as it is.
No. This is what's happening. Don't ask me about how it's happening, but it is happening. Look it up. I was reading all about it. I was like, holy shit. I was like, man, $500 a month, pretty nice.
Well, speaking of outrageous things, I don't know if you read this, and I just came to mind since we're mentioning cities. Do you see that Denver, the politicians in Denver said it's illegal to defecate and piss on the sidewalks now? Legal.
No one's moving to Denver anymore.
That's a surefire way to ruin the reputation of your city. Smoke all the pot you want. People are taking a shit next to you. I don't know if you notice, people, there is something called, and for all my nurses out there or doctors, there is something called C. diff. It is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. If you're in a hospital and you have someone who, and I'm not meaning to, but shits themselves and they don't clean properly, and if you don't have proper gloves on and mask on, you can get really, really sick and even die from it. And this is, if you're walking on the street and there's human excrement all over the street and you step in it and then you touch it because you don't know, it is going to cause a health disaster. And I think 2 podcasts ago, Sal said in San Francisco, and that's how we got on the subject, is that people are getting sick.
Yeah, they have the shit naps.
Right, exactly.
Shit naps in San Francisco. Right. They actually have an app where you can find where people defecate, so you can avoid it.
And you know what's funny? I'm not even ragging on the homeless people here. I'm ragging on the politicians who are agreeing to this. This is unbelievable. And guess what? I bet you every one of those politicians live in their palatial estate or mansion with a big gate around it. If anyone comes within 5 feet of their gate, they're whisked off. But these guys have a scam going on that is second to none. It's been going on for years. And the American public, 80% of the American public still believes all their shit, because we walk through life. Many of us walk through life with blinders on like horses, and just go through and don't even pay attention. How these guys get elected is beyond me. Over and over and over since the 60s.
I see it. Some of my friends, that's exactly how they go through life with blinders on.
It's unbelievable.
Craziness.
And just to get back to this, the switch gears here, to get back to the FISA memo, they found out today think about this, President Trump is basically going against Hillary Clinton in a presidential campaign. The FBI is taking information from this guy, Cody Shear, and this guy, Sidney Blumenthal, who are Hillary colleagues. They're as close to her. They're with her every day. They're taking information from his opponent and then taking it to the FBI and putting in a dossier and getting. This is so mind-boggling that it is as corrupt as the day is long, and it's been going on. And it was spelled out black and white. They're giving names of people. All these guys should go to jail. It's all illegal activity. It's felonies. Should go to jail.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. I saw today one of the last, you know how we came on, like you're saying, one of the last articles I saw was de Blasio he's in hot water right now. He's offending Democratic people.
Oh, what is he doing?
He kisses people hello on the cheek.
Oh,
yeah. But I know, like to us, it's absolutely nothing.
This upsets people.
It's normal behavior.
Who don't want to be kissed by him?
Hey, let's go with it. Maybe we can get him fucking disbarred for this. Like, this would be amazing.
But what I think about is, who wants to kiss De Blasio? Is look at him and look what he's married.
That's why he's getting. I think that's all these sexual harassment cases are just against ugly guys.
Yeah, he's a freak. Nobody wants to be touched by him. Never mind kissed. But I don't know if you heard this one. This is pretty funny. This came out of the Atlantic magazine in UK Daily Press over in England. They have an audio tape of that weirdo. He looks like a creepy pedophile. The guy Adam Schiff. They have an audio tape.
So
These Russian guys were posing as Ukrainian leaders.
I saw this.
These Russian guys were posing as Ukrainian leaders. These are just normal Russian guys. And they called him on the phone and said, and I guess they said, we have dirt on President Trump that will expose him and get him in trouble. And Congressman Schiff out of California like took it hook, line, and sinker and ran and like got into it. And then like at the end of the audio tape, he was there out for like 10 minutes. They just goofed on him, like, you dumb bastard, we're kidding with you. And he goes, and then like they hung up and they played the tape and it was so funny because he was so angry. He was asking a lot of questions and saying, what do you got? Like, do you think this will be enough to impeach him? And he was like so happy and like almost giddy, like a schoolgirl that he had information on Trump. And at the end,
in his mind, he's like, I'm going to be Attorney General one day. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be Secretary of State.
Well, at the end, these guys just goofed on him relentlessly. And then when they went back and people asked him a question, he didn't say it, but one of his like spokespersons said, "Oh, he knew it was bogus, but you knew it wasn't because he was like so like into it. It was hilarious." I think that's funny. I love these pranks on these dopes.
Goodness. Well, I saw even so many people went down this week. Did you see the Steve Wynn story?
I did.
But that bothered me.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken,
I love his hotels.
Isn't Steve Wynn partially blind?
Is he?
I think he is.
Could be.
I might be wrong.
I don't know if that exonerates him.
No. What I'm saying is, can't the girl just run away from him? You can't find her?
Maybe. Like, what does he use as feelers?
Well, like how they got. Here's my thing: is how is Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder? How would they abuse a woman? Because don't you just gotta run? He's gonna bump into a wall or whatever, or push him down and run away.
He's got supersonic hearing. He's like, some kind of superhero.
Listen, I'm not saying blind men can abuse women. But my thing would be pretty easy to get away from them. Would it not?
He must have did it because he paid the one woman $7 million.
Oh, and he
stepped down. Like, it was crazy. He stepped down off his board. And then the story from Hollywood was the Uma Thurman story. Did you see that one this week?
Was that? Go ahead.
You know her, Quentin Tarantino, Miramax,
yes,
the Kill Bill,
yes,
Reservoir, all that shit. Well, she came out that Harvey tried to rape her a few times or blah blah blah.
And Quentin allowed it.
Quentin. Because she didn't like succumb to it, or she did, or blah blah blah. He made her do a stunt in the movie Kill Bill. This was the story that was in like I forget the Wall Street Journal or whatever. And they, it's a stunt, so obviously she like there was a car crash.
Yeah, she's not a stunt woman. She's a little girl.
She she has permanent damage for like life now because of it. And then at the time she really I forget what bone she broke, but she was in bad shape. And she was saying that they tried to kill me on purpose, that the goal was for me to die and not just get injured. And so like Quentin Tarantino was going back about it, like, no, that's not true. I regret doing that. You had to do the stunt, but that's not true. Blah blah blah. And it's just boy, it is true. Because who's the head of Miramax?
Yeah.
Weinstein. Who didn't get sex? Weinstein. Who's gonna tell you you're never gonna direct again? Weinstein. So like,
well, that's another thing. You haven't heard from him. I wonder where is he right now? Where is this guy?
Because it's just more. Did he? No, he's not in jail.
England, London.
I haven't heard anything about it.
He's not in this country. He's in jail or rehab.
Why would he be in? Yeah, he's in rehab. Jail's different than rehab.
Yeah, but I don't know anything. I don't know. But it's funny. They don't even mention his name anymore. Like if Sal wouldn't mention Uma Thurman today in this, he wouldn't even be. No one mentions him. The guy's the biggest serial rapist ever. No one mentions a shit about him.
Yeah, she was saying that Tarantino was like heavily involved with this dude, big scumbag. I was like, yeah. We didn't know.
Yep. Yep. So. What else you got?
One thing I have is about that linebacker.
Yeah.
Colts that got killed by the illegal.
Yep. Him and the Uber driver.
Yeah, the Uber driver. Feel bad for the Uber driver. That's who I feel bad for that died because, I mean, you guys, I don't know if I feel bad or what I feel for this Edwin Jackson guy. He was a kneeler. So he didn't really respect this country anyway. So maybe that was one of the outcomes he was hoping that would happen to him. Maybe not this soon, but hey, I don't know.
I mean, what I always think
that's what happens. You support stupid social shit.
Right. Well, a guy like that, wasn't he supporting the illegal that hit him in the car?
That's what I think, right? You
That's
don't
what-
support it. You don't support America, so you must support
That's what
illegals, right? I
that's
don't
what-
know. Well, I'm trying to get the logic here.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. It's funny Sal mentioned this story because I found out in the media.
I feel bad for his family. I
Yeah.
feel bad for the Uber driver, but do I feel bad for him?
Well,
I don't know.
this is a perfect segue because the media has been squashing this story, and I came across it. I didn't know about it, but there was a woman in Sweden. So this is kind of ties into his story, and then we can talk about what your thoughts are on it, and I'll throw it over to Sal. But there was a Swedish politician. Her name was Zaida Catalan. She was a huge advocate for open borders, and she always lobbied for more people to come over from these Muslim countries, these African countries. There's also a gentleman who was a UN peacekeeper named Mike Sharp. He was an American, and he was working with Zaida on this program, and they were going over to areas of the Middle East. So this one instance, they ended up in the Congo, and they were there to spread the word and invite people back to, come to America. The UN wants you to go to America, go to Sweden, go to these neighboring countries in Europe. Well, they found both of them beheaded. And so I never want anyone to be killed, but a part of me says this, like, when as a human being is your ideology so twisted that you don't even realize that you are, like, if you go into a snake pit, most likely you're going to get bit by snakes.
I would think.
Now, if your ideology says that snakes should be pets and that snakes are good, and you are that whacked out in the brain, then a part of me tells me that you kind of deserved it. And how can I have sympathy for you? Now, I'm not saying I want these two to be killed or this Edwin Jackson guy, but think about this. One thing I do say, so I can't be a hypocrite, is why do conservatives always have to not only financially and economically, but socially pay for liberal shitty policies?
Yeah.
Always. You guys in liberal land want all this fucked up stuff, and then we have to foot the bill, who work our asses off and take out of our mouths of our families, and we got to deal with the social bullshit like in Denver, like we just talked about, like in Stockton, like Sal just mentioned. So a part of me tells me that these people kind of got what they deserve, and I'm not trying to be nasty, but if you agree to having illegals in your country, you get killed by an illegal.
Yeah, you don't stand for your flag. You don't support your country, and then you die by an illegal alien.
Or this
what am I really supposed to be sympathetic?
Or this woman and this man who are lobbying for illegals to come into your country. They're killed by the illegals they want in their country. I can't weep for them. I'm sorry, and I'm not a heartless person. But at some point, and you would think at some point, a liberal person who maybe was friends with these people or saw what was going on here would wise up, because this isn't the only time it's happened. I think about 20 podcasts ago, we mentioned in Italy, there was a chick from Milan. There was another chick from Sweden, another chick from Denmark, another chick from Germany. They all got murdered doing the same thing, but nobody learned. So I can't feel bad for you. I'm sorry. And I value the human life, so does Sal, but I can't feel bad for you. And I understand where he's coming from on this.
I mean, of course I value human life.
Of course.
But when you can't just play both sides and do all that hypocritical shit. Like, it's
because my feeling is,
I feel bad. I told you, I feel bad
Yeah.
for the Uber driver. I feel bad for the families. I feel bad for all that, but I feel bad for him.
Well,
I kind of got what you reap what you sow.
Well, like we saw on the State of the Union, I feel bad for those families that lost their daughters to these gang members who are illegals. How come the people don't put themselves in their shoes and say, maybe it's not the greatest idea that we have illegals here. They killed this two couples child, or we can go on all the deaths. I think in the last week there have been 5 or 6 deaths by illegal aliens all over the country. I think it was more, because in one city it was 4. So I think it was like 7 or 8 deaths in like the last 4 days of illegals, guys who were either drunk, raped, murdered, and it's out there. And the funny part is the media says nothing. And I was watching an interview last night, and there was a woman. She was the mother of I think an Arizona sheriff, and he was hit by a drunk driver who was illegal. And she said she can't even get coverage of her son. No one will even cover her story. And she's like, I'm out here, trying to get, telling that idiot Jeff Flake, who hopefully will be gone soon, and McCain to lobby to put bills to protect Americans from illegals. They won't even take my call, but they'll meet with illegals coming in. And both of those idiots are rhinos. So I don't want to hear from you people that we don't talk about dirty Republicans. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
I hate them as much as I hate the Democrats.
Even more.
There's a lot of them, I'm going to be honest with you. There's more and more coming out every week where you kind of see the ones that have kind of flipped. And, McCain, because people don't misunderstand something. John McCain is involved in this FISA memo. He actually sent information over. It was proven in one of the in the memos that were released to the dossier guys at Fusion GPS.
Well, yeah, and if you remember back to, I guess it was the summertime in those Putin papers, I think was the documentary came out.
Yep.
They exposed McCain meeting with all those Ukrainian leaders and doing all that shiesty shit back then.
Yeah,
this dude, and like anytime he denounces Russia for anything, I just like, this guy is such a shill.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like, we all saw you. Like, there's pictures, evidence of you with these people.
And Sal always mentions, and I laugh when he says it, but I think it's true. I always say, when are these guys going to die? And he says, these guys suck the vampire blood out of children, or like, because they get this youth blood in them. Because that guy should have been dead ages ago. Look at him. He looks. I mean, every time you see him, he's like either sleeping or he's playing like on his phone. God, I bet you if you asked him a question today about what's currently going on, he wouldn't even have any idea. And I don't even know why he there's besides term limits, which I can go on about. There should be age limits. If you retire at 65, how is an 82-year-old man is or even like Ginsburg, who looks like the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz? She looks like she should be dead. Get rid of them. Tell them they gotta go.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I completely agree with age limits. The age limit should be on a lot of things.
Right.
A
Exactly.
lot of things. So
it's not discrimination when a person can't keep their eyes open
you're not
for an hour meeting.
Competent anymore.
Right.
You confuse people's names when you just can't be a normal person in society anymore.
Right. And these are important jobs.
And especially, it seems like, I don't know. They're like an older generation. Those older generations just seem to harbor like what's grudges.
Yeah.
And they do not let it go.
No, it's like forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we shit on the rhinos as well. And then I'm going to say one more thing. Then you can get into what you wanted. But lately, Mad Maxine Waters has been all over the news because she did one of the State of the Union opposition speeches, which was hysterical. And people, we have to keep propping up Maxine Waters. Oh, it was horrible. We have to prop up Maxine Waters and promote her, because as long as she's talking, the Democrats will never win. And I don't know if you heard about this, but she secretly put in a bill. She tried to pass it through, a $1.2 billion taxpayer bill to fund Obamacare, not Obamacare per se, but the promotion of Obamacare with lefty organizations to keep it in the limelight so the Republicans couldn't dissolve it or get rid of it. So she wants it. And then at the same time, we found out that
makes perfect sense. I'm sorry.
Right.
Hold your point.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing the commercials after, like, right when Trump got in for months and saying, sign up for Obamacare,
Right.
sign up for this, sign up for that. And we're like, well, Trump's in now. They're going to get rid of this in months. Why would people sign up for it? Like, why are they even advertising it?
$1.2 billion is a lot.
I was saying, in my mind, I was like, how much money did they have to pay to even get this on television?
So $1.2 billion,
Yeah.
which is huge. Also, we find out that her husband owns a bank in Massachusetts. It was going belly up. It was ready to. Now, when do you ever hear of a bank going out of business? But his was. And she took federal
shady
money.
ass banks go out of business.
Exactly, shady bank. But she took federal money and siphoned it to his bank to keep it afloat. So now she's getting investigated by the Senate Judiciary Committee for illegal transferring of funds, which somehow I would imagine in the past, Maxine Waters would have got off scot-free in the Hillary age or Obama age. Now under Trump, not so much.
Just like the Bernie stuff. I don't know if you've been paying attention to that. And his wife,
But the wife, yeah.
they're really going after him because they found out that they, of course, knew exactly what they were doing when they wasted and embezzled all that money.
Yeah,
they were buying buildings, wings that they knew were never going to get used, and they were just fraudulently spending money.
And isn't he for the common man?
No, it's for himself.
Well, another thing is, how come all the money he took, how come he didn't give that to all, like the Robin Hood? Nah.
We're going to take the money from the rich and give it to the blacks.
Yeah.
That was more Obama than Bernie.
Well, my
voices are a little off.
He's such a bullshitter. It's ridiculous.
It's too much.
People buy into this. That's the funniest thing about you liberals and Democrats. You buy into this crock of shit. you'll sit here and you'll argue
And
with
as
us.
soon as you say one question to him, like Murphy today, Governor Murphy of New Jersey, free college tuition. As soon as you ask them one question, like who's paying for that?
Yeah.
What?
Well,
What?
What the hell do they think you're going to ask?
What do you mean? New Jersey's paying for it, but how does New Jersey get that money? What? The government, New Jersey's government. But how? What?
I got to be honest with you. I think colleges should be scrapped. I think we should pay. If you want to pay for something, make a kid a good electrician. Make him a good plumber. Let me tell you something. People can use those and send them to school. So when they come out of school, they charge a normal rate.
And a lot of times when you get to these companies that you get into, they have to train you anyway.
College.
So like, what the hell is really the point of college?
Well,
it's a social experience.
I think
experience.
Well, now it is. And back in the day, you used to need colleges to kind of. But now a college degree is like high school. It's so full of shit.
Yeah. Well, I will say that if you don't even have a college degree, it's like you don't have anything.
And these kids, unless you're a layman. But these kids today are stupider than they've ever been in their life, and that's by Evan. And we're not just talking about the John Jay thing or the Jesse What. Every college thing I see, they are like drones. The dumbest kids. They are dumb. And I'm not talking about Phoenix University, and I'm talking about like John Jay is one of the top criminal colleges in America.
Sorry, we'll get to that point. Have you ever met someone that was doing at Phoenix University?
I have not.
I have, and I want to.
They can't be any dumber.
I want to smack everyone. People because they're so stupid.
Or think about this: who's dumber, the $80,000 a year Harvard kid who basically doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about, that's being interviewed by Jesse Waters, or the kid who went to Phoenix University and spent $800? Maybe the Harvard kid's gonna.
I'm a graphic designer now, man.
Yeah,
sure you are.
Listen, I don't even know. I've never seen so many dumb kids in my life. And when I watch these college videos, they are getting stupider by the day. It's exposed it's crazy how much they're exposed.
Let's talk about where the Olympics are this Friday, or they start.
Sure.
So I'm always excited about the Olympics. Like I said earlier in the show, like I love watching our teams compete and whoop the whole world's ass. It makes me feel good about it, right? But the big thing about the Olympics is, of course, is Pence is going to lead the delegation? Or?
Yeah, well,
I'm not sure.
I heard some shit.
I know he's going to talk. He's going to be there.
Right.
And with him is going to be Otto Warmbier's dad, the guy, father who died in North Korea, who they tortured before they got over here. So he's going to be there in front of the whole world in Pyeongchang. If you guys didn't know, the Olympics are in South Korea. So it's going to be a really huge statement, I think.
Well, and all I can say about this, and I love the Olympics too, but I can't not feel this way. I want to see Lindsey Vonn do like a Wild World of Sports crash over.
But this is what.
Yeah.
Sorry. Before, I don't know if you know anything about that girl's career, but she just has the most horrific crashes.
Yeah,
and leg breaks. So this is the year where we all pray for it, and she sweeps goals.
Well, that's
what's going to happen.
Well, no,
she's going to sweep goals because of it.
Maybe I'm talking bad about her, but I don't know if you heard about it. And the thing about Lindsey Vonn that disgusts me is every time she gets the podium, she talks bad about President Trump.
Well,
every time.
Personally, she's disgusting.
Yeah.
Politically, she's disgusting. I don't know. She has one good thing about her. I guess that she is attracted to certain types of people, but as soon as you get to hear her speak, it's like,
no, she just is a dumbass. And then speaking to South Point, there was knowing that Vice President Pence is going to be there was a gay figure skater, and I don't know his name. He came out and said, I don't want
gay figure skater.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, he goes,
really?
He said he doesn't want to march because
how'd that
Pence
happen?
is going to be there.
Figure
So
skater.
my thing is this:
what are the odds?
It's not here. If I'm not mistaken, isn't their trip over there tax paid?
Yeah, and they get if you win a gold medal, it's like $25,000.
Right. So they should just shut their mouths and perform. And the fact of the matter is that they should say nothing but have praise for the country and the leadership. And when they start making political statements, I get so turned off because they're going for free. And yes, they qualified, and I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but when you're going on someone else's dime, and basically President Trump could probably throw the kibosh on paying for it if he wanted to save money, but of course he wouldn't, then you should shut your mouth. That's simple.
I believe the same thing too, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I love the hockey, and there are some cool stuff. Know what I love watching, and call me like a masochist. I love watching the real shitty countries try to play like countries that are real warm, try to play trying to play hockey or they said
Just
they
any.
could be like 18-0.
Oh my god.
Like they
Yeah.
can't even skate. It's like you or me
I
doing
was just gonna say like the
I love that
fast skating stuff, and you
I
get
love
like at the African country, and it's like, oh god, these poor people. Like,
Yeah, and I gotta. There's something I need to know. And Sweet Lou, if you're listening, please tell me if your cousin made the Olympic team in speed skating. I know he was in the finals, and I know he was going to get it. He was. I think last time the Winter Olympics, he missed by one spot. And you said he's. Oh, if you're watching this video,
He's
Lou.
on his way home.
Okay.
He's typing.
All right, Sweet Lou, tell me if your nephew or cousin made it in the Olympic team. I pray he did, because I'd love to watch him. But I need to know that, because that's a huge accomplishment. A kid from New Jersey, being on and related to a good buddy of ours that we both know, and my wife.
that's pretty cool.
Which is very cool. What else you got? Anything else?
So then I'm done.
You're gonna get into this, and people, I got sent this today, and I got sent it by Joni, so I appreciate it, Joni. But I had been researching it too. But there is a gentleman. Well, first off, let me preface this to say 4,000 pedophiles and child traffickers have been arrested under President Trump this year in 11 months, which is phenomenal.
Probably more than ever before.
Well, yeah, Obama never did any of this shit. But
I wonder why.
so here's what happened. In one of the Trump indictments, a man's name got mentioned who I've never heard of before. He's the ex-FBI chief, and he's known as a real badass. His name was Ted Gunderson. And he was a man's man. Like, he was highly respected in the FBI. He was a badass, a real badass. And so I went back and started researching this guy. And just to give you a little backup on this guy, he died of arsenic poisoning. Okay, and
How is that even possible?
right. So he was killed by he was poisoned
He was
to death.
killed.
He was
by
killed.
arsenic, yeah.
But in 1980s, he came out with a video that I watched, and then the video he spoke at a conference, and he said his life was getting threatened every week. So he was a big time FBI investigator, old school. He was a big man. They used to call him the Bear, the Big Bear, Ted Gunderson. But he said in the 80s, the late 80s, that Satanism, the Illuminati, child trafficking, pedophilia, and all tied to Pizzagate, which is today. He said this. He predicted it. He said in D.C., there's huge religious institutions, Hollywood, entertainment, and politics that are just not only trafficking children, but committing 40,000 satanic rituals a year where they're basically killing children as sacrifices.
Mm-hmm. That's why if you look at it, it's staggering. It's staggering the amount of missing children in this country. If you look up those numbers, you never hear about it on the
Correct.
news.
You never hear about
It's
it.
like 200,000 missing a year.
And he said that. And he also said it happens. He said the place where Middle Eastern men go every year and pick up children to use as sex slave in America, the hub of the country, and think about this, people, is Las Vegas. He said this in 1997, Las Vegas. And where did everything happen?
But really, there's no children there, though.
They ship them there. I think they ship them and capture them
God.
from all over the country. They ship them there. So, and they just, but he goes into all this stuff. And he retired from the FBI in 79. But what he did was he came out with his own security company where he didn't have to go by the law of the land. He can kind of be more rogue and more. And he mentioned a kid by the name of Johnny Gosch, who was kidnapped in Nebraska, was missing for 15 years, escaped his kidnappers, came back and saw his mother and said, "You can't keep looking for me because you will get killed. These people will kill you." And he went on to explain how this guy, it was the CIA, Congress, they were told to like these investigate it. They kept saying no, there's not a problem, and this guy could not get anything done. And then he went on to talk about not only that the stuff with child trafficking, like we mentioned, but he mentioned that the World Trade Center bombing, the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, Oklahoma City, Ruby Ridge, Waco. He even said that the government knew 6 months in March about the 9/11, and they did nothing.
Well, it's funny because somewhat, if you watch the Waco documentaries that have been coming out, they knew all about
Yeah,
Waco.
they knew.
They just didn't stop it.
Well, he said the Oklahoma City bombing with Timothy McVeigh. He said Timothy McVeigh was just a tool. And Sal can maybe describe it better than me because I'm not as up on this, but there's a thing called the MK Ultra program. It's mind control. So tell them about it, Sal, because you know better than me.
That's one of the things that they say is that they can get some of these guys like a Timothy McVeigh. McVeigh was an agent of some sort, wasn't he?
They said he was an MK.
He was a secret.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
He had a chip in his ass, they said.
I mean, that's one of the things that they're saying that they've been trying to, actually, you guys heard of the movie The Manchurian Candidate. It's actual, literal stuff like that.
It's like the Bourne movies.
Where they try to do mind control on you, but especially now when you hear it today, let me put a computer chip in your wrist, let me do a computer chip in your brain, and it's companies doing it.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, computer chips and this technology has been around since the 60s. We haven't gotten it till much later, but they must have been perfecting it for a long time.
What did the liberal media always say about Timothy McVeigh? Who was he? A right-wing conspiracy.
Radical cult leader.
Yeah, they always said that.
But
he was not that at all.
they said he was like a lone wolf or something.
I thought they always said he was right-wing conservative.
No, they said he was just a nut job.
Yeah.
Right-wing, no. But yeah, of course he was, and he knew this.
But
he and his partner too, who ended up dying.
Yeah, what was he?
I can't remember.
Oh man, I should know his name.
He got the glasses on.
Yes.
The black hair with the glasses. I can't remember his name either.
He was part of it then too. They said, I forget Vic.
I kind of
whatever. But this guy knew his shit, and he knew a lot of people. So when McVeigh was in jail, he said that there are two doctors named Jolly West and Sidney Godley went to visit him, and they said, why would these two guys who are well-renowned CIA doctors go visit Tim McVeigh? And then if you remember, guys. And I'm not trying to, where life imitates art or vice versa. But remember Jason Bourne and those two doctors went to go see same thing. That's what they're saying he was.
Yeah.
They're saying what McVeigh was. It's a guy like that.
Well, yeah, just explain it more. Like just completely under someone else's control, basically, but unbeknownst to themselves.
And he basically said that if you come out, they first said that it was a fertilizer bomb that was I think 1,300 pounds, and they came out and said no, it was 2,400 pounds. They finally said it was 4,800 pounds.
How the fuck do you do something? How do you get something that big into that building?
Well, they said
by yourself.
They didn't.
With no one seeing.
Sal asked the perfect question because Ted Gunderson said he didn't get it in. The FBI or CIA got it in. I think the CIA got it in. And it was 11 people involved on CIN who got a 4,800-pound bomb. Think about the size of that.
Think about the size of something that's 4,800 pounds.
Yeah.
What it has to look
like.
The
size of an 18-wheeler.
I was going to say it's the size of this room.
Yeah. One guy ain't getting it in.
No, two guys ain't getting it in.
No.
Not with forklifts, they're not doing that.
And then he was talking about this gentleman who is a colleague of his who's in jail currently. He's doing 30 years for drug possession. His name was Michael Riconosciuto, and his father designed or was in Silicon Valley. And you can look this company up. It's called Hercules something, and they designed this crazy computer software that the government was using. He also said this Michael Riconosciuto his company sold a lot of computer software in the late 80s, early 90s to foreign governments. But what they said, and Sal may know what this means, I didn't know, but he was able to set up trap doors in this software. Yeah. So when you sold it to Israel, England, Germany, Russia, the trap door was we were able to get their information and they didn't even know it. And that was him.
Okay.
So Michael Riconosciuto is a bright dude. So he also was not only that, he was an agent for the FBI. He met with Osama bin Laden in 1986, way before 9/11, and he told the American government who the players were for 9/11, what their names were, where they were getting their passports. He told them everything. And he said the FBI did nothing about it, did nothing. And so he's in jail now. And his life was threatened. I'm surprised they didn't kill him. But reading this, it was an hour, and I listened to it, an hour and 15 minutes. It was because he said, Ruby Ridge, 9/11, all the things I mentioned. He just was amazing how corrupt that this government has been for years and years.
What year did this Gunderson guy die?
I think he died in 1997.
Damn, and he knew all this shit already.
Wait, no, I'm sorry.
No,
it was after 97. 2000s. He died. You know what? I wrote it down. Wait, hold on. Let me see where he died. He died from arsenic poisoning, which I wrote down. In what year? But I'll figure it out. I'll get that to you. But
if you had to think, before 2010,
January 2003. Could that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Sound right.
So yeah, after 9/11, you got to see all that shit.
Yeah,
he predicted 9/11. He was beforehand, then he really did.
He became an agent like in the 50s, so he was an older man. And here's another interesting fact, and then we probably know this already, but the guy Michael Riconoscuto, he said that the head guys were living in our backyard in Paterson, New Jersey. That's where they were hanging out, probably on Main Street in Paterson, with the height of Muslim terrorism in the Northeast.
I mean, every time I go down, well, I don't have to go. I guess I do go down sometimes when you drive down the Parkway and you see around the oranges and you look to the left and you see that huge Muslim center.
Yes, you do.
Oh my God, it bothers me every time. You just see like terrorists hanging outside of it with the.
They are.
I mean, they're like 20-year-old guys with those huge beards, looking mean, mugging everybody. It's just like, who are these people?
Yep. And that's something we know exists, but. What you got? Anything else? You got anything else going on that you want to talk about?
No, I saw the space stuff is the big stuff for me this week. I thought that, and then that just in the workplace stuff. I was like, how did we let this shit go right by us?
Right.
How do we let some terrorist sounding guy become a president? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's funny because even not to go jump back to the memo real quick, but this is something that I think about a lot, and we talk about it, and I'm going to get Sal's opinion, but. What percentage of Americans do you think relatively are just in the dark about current events? What would you say?
75%.
I think that's a good guess. I think it might be higher. But the reason I'm bringing this up is it was very strange. Tuesday, it was after work. I had to go to the coffee shop, get some stuff done. And a man sits next to me. He was probably 64, still working, pretty intelligent individual, smart guy. Like he wasn't a dummy. And for some reason, I don't know what made him think this, but I think the newspapers, because at Rockin' Joe's where I go in West Caldwell, he gets the New York Post, New York Times, Daily News, and he gets them for free every day, and people like to read them. So it said something about the FISA memo. So out of nowhere, the guy says to me, "What do you think about the FISA memo?" And I said, "Well, what do you think?" And he proceeds to go on a diatribe of about 4 minutes, and I kept my mouth shut, of complete CNN talking points to a T. You couldn't. It was almost like he spit out what maybe Chris Matthews said, or this other idiot Rachel Maddow. And I said, "Well, where do you get your news from?" And we all know the answer because exactly what he said, CNN. And I said to him, "Really? Why?" Because he kept saying it's Trump, Russia. Still saying it.
I think that's why we said what percentage is misinformed, or. I think that's what it is. They're just misinformed, these people. They have knowledge of the subject. They just don't know what the hell they're talking about.
No, they don't know what they're talking about. So I proceeded to say to him, "Do you know every day, you're a smart guy. I could tell you're a smart individual." And he was. He spoke well. He had some, but he just spit out. And I said, "Do you realize as a 64-year-old man watching CNN that every day you're getting played? You're getting played. Like it should be an insult to your intelligence that you listen to these fools, that you read the New York Times. I mean, maybe at your age, back when you were in your early 40s or late 30s, those were legitimate news sources. And I would say you're probably right. They were, but that was a long time ago. Nowadays," and he said, "No, well, how can you say that?" And so I proceeded to pull. I go, "Did you ever read the wiki emails back in the summer?" He said he didn't. I happen to have one. I pull it up. I showed him the one that said that, in the wiki email that George Soros funded and paid for all these people to meet that were anchors like Diane Sawyer, George Stephanopoulos. And I said, he basically every day, the DNC called the networks and gave him the narrative to talk about that day. So he read it and he goes, "Wow, I didn't know about that." And I said, "Yeah." I go, and then I said something else about the FISA memo. Like, "Did you read this?" And he said, "No." And I told him, and it just made me think that if that guy who I consider an intelligent dude is that ignorant on the topics, we're in trouble.
Well, so few people talk about those topics. It's like us. You get talking points in some of the bigger shows on TV, but they don't get in depth in it like we do. Like we really, like in the past podcasts, and even now, we still get deep into subjects and like what it means, what they were talking about, what they were trying to do, and how they got away with some of this nonsense.
Well, ultimately, and I want to get your opinion on this, but ultimately, gun to my head, bullet in the chamber, have to give the right answer. The biggest problem in our society today, believe it or not, and people may disagree with me, is not the politicians. It's like politicians, or some politicians, will always be corrupt. It's the media. The media, if the media spoke truth, we would have none of this going on. There's checks and balances.
I guarantee if you would poll anybody with just, none of this nonsense that was going on, but even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, what's a politician? Are they corrupt? Yes. 90% overall, they would be like,
right.
Yeah, politicians are corrupt as hell.
Right.
They know this.
Well,
but now it's coming to the point where you expect a politician to be corrupt. Now that you know that the media is corrupt, it's like, oh my God, this is a whole new curveball.
We talked about Nixon was exposed by journalists. Think about this, people. Today, that was Watergate was like 19 what? 70, early 70s? 74, 73. So in a mere less than 50 years, President Nixon was exposed by journalists. Today, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are protected by journalists. If that is not a shitstorm waiting to happen, it's not even that they out them. It's not even that they keep quiet. They cover for them.
And the outcome is going to be so much worse. What happened to Nixon? He got impeached and he went in his merry way. Now they push the outcome, the negative outcome, they push it so much further. Now the negative outcome is someone has to die.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
it's just like that's where they put it. Like they couldn't do it to where, all right, I'm gonna lose my job, I'm gonna lose my legacy, but at least I have my money, my family, I can go on my merry way. They push it to the point of corruption where like it's really organized crime.
It is
sheltered by the government.
Right.
It's craziness.
I just want to.
And now someone has to get whacked.
A lot of people have. And,
yeah.
And these are two things that just came to my mind.
Big boss Frank Vincent needs his head run over right now. That's what he needs.
Put him in the ditch and then with the bat.
Yeah.
But there's something I did today I thought was interesting. I never really watched today because of the snow. I came home and I kind of had half a day, and I watched the news conference with Sarah Sanders in the media. And when you watch one of those, you realize
they're at war with these people.
Yes, how corrupt the media is. They were talking about the stock market doing horribly now, people losing their money. And then, so what I did on that, so now I watched this series. It was very difficult to watch. It was very hard to watch. But then I went back and pulled up an Obama press conference with one of his people. And you would not believe, I think in the press corps of Obama,
did Michelle get her flowers I sent her? What about the chocolates? I love her. What about your daughter? How's your dog, Buck?
Yeah. Sal's not far from the truth, people. I think, because here's what happened. Here's the difference.
How's the pooch? Is he being fed? Is he being walked regularly?
They got asked a lot of huge softball questions.
How's Mr. Obama's knee?
Yeah.
I don't know. He played basketball. He sprained it. Is he okay?
Exactly. And if one person asked a negative question, they never, ever followed up another one. And the next person asked one of these softball questions Sal mentioned. But to see the differentiation of the news media, the way they treat each president, and I don't want to hear a fucking thing. If I have to hear a liberal say that Obama was under scrutiny, you're a liar like you do everything else. Because I'm going to tell you something.
A liar like him.
On a span, on a what do you call it? A range of 1 to 100. Donald Trump is pasted about 120. He scores about 120 on political negativity in the media. Barack Obama was like a 15, maybe a 10. I mean, if you ruffled his feathers a little bit, he got all that bent out of shape like a liberal does, and he just knocked you out of the room. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then the last thing I want to get your opinion on is, did you hear what this idiot Jimmy Kimmel said?
Yeah, I didn't pay any attention.
Well, and I always like to point out this we always talk about this liberal elitism, and someone asked him why, and it was funny for him because I don't even think Jimmy Kimmel is smart. I think he sucks. I don't think he's funny. And I think his best show was The Man Show. And when he did it back in the day, he had Adam Carolla, who was actually funny, it was scripted. He read what people wrote. He wasn't ad-libbing or spontaneous in anything. But Jimmy Kimmel, they asked, why are all talk show hosts liberals? And he got this look on his face like all liberals do. He said, well, you have to be intelligent to do a talk show. And that's why us liberals are intelligent, where conservatives aren't intelligent enough to do it.
And that's just like Hillary calling us the
exactly.
It's just
and to hear this jerk off munt say this, I would love to be in a room because he looks like such a weasel. Like he is just a
mean, that liberal fan base has dwindled down. I
Yeah.
mean, they're down to like, we're talking like just 20 million liberals. That's it now left in the world. Like they're dwindling. They're bleeding.
They're hemorrhaging.
Users,
Yep.
if you want to call them that.
Yep.
Like they have no fan base anymore.
Exactly. So
They have no money.
yeah.
It's just like
Speaking of money, they said that the PNC is had its worst fundraising ever.
So like they have to go quadruple, sextuplet hard on whatever the hell they're going to do in the media to try and gain back people, which it's failing them, and it continually will with those statements.
And then the last thing I want to throw by, and then we'll end the show because we have to mention it. But I didn't watch any of the Super Bowl. I was told by people who watched it that it was one of the best games, which can only help them, but it didn't. It was one of the worst. It was not the worst. One of the worst rated in a long time.
No, I don't even. I think that was nonsense too. I think it was rated normally as any other Super Bowl.
Okay,
but I mean, it was still down a little, but it didn't make a difference. It's still a highly rated program.
Yeah, well, you know what I think about this? I don't think people look at it, and here's what it makes a little difference as a Super Bowl compared to it's not looked at as just a football game. It's looked at as an American event.
It's an event, yeah.
So that's what I think makes it different. So, but
people
I do
set up parties.
Yeah.
This, so you know.
But I do think I think I read that it was the lowest ranked in the last 7 years, and I think it was way down from last year. I think way down. You got to think about it. If you talk about 5% on 140 million people, that's a lot of people. So it is a lot. I know people say, "Oh, 5% ain't shit," but you're 100 million people. 5% is 5 million people. So, you got 140. Talking about 8, 9, 10 million people. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. So
missing out on their advertisement.
Correct. So that's really it. So.
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to talk about the T-Mobile thing.
No, you know what's funny? I didn't watch the commercial.
Oh, I watched it briefly. It was so angering. It was so funny. So everybody's going to leave T-Mobile obviously now because all they care about is social programs and not actually about you individually. Is what it comes down. If you have a problem with your phone, contact whatever group you're a part of, because then maybe you'll actually get service. Because the individual doesn't matter to T-Mobile, only the social.
The social group. Sal mentioned this to me yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to look at it, so I wish I did. But I'm going to go and put T-Mobile Super Bowl commercial, and I want to address it next week because Sal was appalled. I think Sal came up to me.
I was just laughing so hard when I saw it. I was like, good God.
Sal was so pissed off. He said, if I see somebody with T-Mobile phone, he goes, I'm going to spike it like a football.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was laughing.
Yeah, it's so true. If I do see something, I'm going to bash the phone and just right out of their hands. It's just like, let's not just pick a social justice movement. Let's incorporate every single one of them into our commercial. It's so bad.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this is brutal.
I just.
Yeah. We had it. This is what we feel like at the end of the day. It's like,
but I know everybody else on Facebook feels this way because I hear it every day. I think when I heard some of this shit going on yesterday, when my post was the world is going batshit crazy. It's crazier than a shithouse rat because this is where we're at. We're just at crazy nuttiness. And the last thing is, I just love to hear the bag of the excuses that the Democrats come out and everything. Instead of just saying we're guilty, we have to change. They're coming up with, the memo doesn't mean anything.
We're going to be better.
We're going to never. They never say that. It's never. And it's just a really pathetic group of people. But with that being said, it's late.
Rocket Man.
We're going out to some Elton John, Rocket Man, his final tour. My boy Sal.
It's going to be our future, guys.
Out of here. And we'll see you guys next week. Stay safe. It's going to get icy out there.
It's going to be crazy.
Have a good night, all. That was a good show. Cuties. How's your tummy? You better? Hi, cuties.
Wow. Dude, a ton of shares already.
Yeah.
47.
Awesome. Dude, you okay? You want to eat? Come here. Hi, buddy. Are you okay? Are you okay?